Okay, so I got a lot of engagement on my last video where I covered Eddie, and I like to reflect on all the response that I got to simply improve on what I'm doing here on this channel. And first of all, like, all of the comments were really positive, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful to be able to, you know, not always have to come up with like a new concept, but simply just being interested in studying a song, learning the song, learning the techniques, and trying to dial in a good tone and experimenting with different pedals and sounds. You know, all of that isn't necessarily an interesting and concept with a catchy title and all that. You know, uploading full covers on YouTube is like the most basic thing to do within the guitar community, I guess, in terms of innovation. But I'm really grateful to be able to do that in my last cover and get that kind of response. Yeah, you know, it gives a good sense of, you know, being part of a community, a really niche community, which I really appreciate. Some of the comments had some form of feedback as well, and I like to address those here. And the first one is regarding the treble, that I should lower it just slightly and then it will be perfect. And I kind of disagree with this comment, because I actually think that it's way too much treble. It's not even close to being good, at least for the first part of the song, you know, with the verse and all that. I think that the tone there sounds really thin and you know, not punchy like the original. Perhaps I should have used more reverb to have more impact from each note, so it stays longer. Now it's just, I feel like the overall sense of it is that it feels weak compared to the original. But at the same time, you know, this was a full cover, and what I noticed when I tried to thicken up the tone for the, you know, cleanish verse part of the song, then it made the distorted and the fuzz part of the song sound like really, you know, muddy and not enough contrast, and yeah, not sharp, and yeah, it just sounds like noise almost, because it just becomes one blob of fuzziness, especially, you know, for the part between the first solo and the second solo, where you still kind of play the verse melody and Anthony sings, but you add some improvisation to it, or yeah, you add some things to it. Then, you know, it was really hard to get a good contrast between those notes for that part especially. But yeah, so based on this feedback, what I want to improve upon is to get better, or have better tonal control. But to be fair to myself, now I'm comparing myself to a studio version where you're able to you know, change the sound for different parts of the song. But also I think that when they did this album, perhaps, I think I read somewhere that it's more kind of a live take kind of thing, recorded to tape and all that. So perhaps they did a lot of one takes and all that, but also they can do a lot in post as well to thicken up the sound. But I guess I could do that as well, so perhaps I just need to improve on this myself, you know, to have better tonal control. But that's that. And the second comment was a bit funny, you know, sorry for immediately skipping to the solo, yeah, I can really get that, because for a few years now I'm focused on, you know, doing short form content where I try to cut out the not too engaging part, and not have and just have the kind of peak part left to get a very engaging experience in a very short amount of time, to not waste people's time. At least that is what my mindset has been like. you know, it worked really well in the beginning, but now that kind of content has started to fall off a little bit. I still enjoy making it, but you know, now going back to doing full covers like I did many years ago, like a decade ago, it kind of starts to feel refreshing again. I really start to appreciate how difficult it can be. You know, it's one thing to, you know, play along to a song with the original guitar in it and all that, and just casually play along to it. But it's another thing to remove the guitar from the original song and try to, in front of a camera in one take, just record the guitar over it. Because when you're standing there, you just hear each mistake that you're doing, and I kind of start to appreciate that challenge, and I think it's a really healthy challenge to, you know, just have like 4 minutes or however long the song is, where you're really just trying to be in the zone. Because when you do like short form content and with many angles and all that, it's just a lot of different takes that's combined and all that, and it can be really cool, but it can also remove getting into a flow state and getting that kind of experience. So what I learned from this comment and this kind of idea is that I will like to try to incorporate doing more full covers in the future to kind of get better at this. But I will also do similar videos to what I'm you know, that short form content. I will try, you know, continue that as well, but again trying to incorporate more full covers. But that's one issue with doing that, which someone noted, and that is that I should relax more and loosen up my wrist. And I really agree with that. You know, in that cover that I did, you know, first of all, I never got happy with the final take that I chose, but you know, I did many takes over several days, and I eventually just said that okay, this is as good as it gets. I still see a lot of mistakes, especially, you know, the second solo where I tried to get that pinch harmonic down the neck and then up the neck, and just failing and getting just distorted noise instead. That's kind of painful to watch now in post, but yeah, I think overall the take is all right, and perhaps that is something I need to work on, to be able to allow certain mistakes as long as the overall vibe feels somewhat right. I think that really could help with loosen up and all that, and I think not just my wrist but like my whole shoulder looks really stiff in the cover, and I actually have a lot of pain up here as well, so I really need to work on that. And I think this can be an issue of, you know, doing covers alone like this. I think that can make it harder to get into that flow state. You know, I can get into it when practicing and all that, but then trying to get that perfect take can kind of take away from it, but it can also enhance it because of the pressure and all that. So it's kind of an interesting balance, but I think playing with other people in a band and all that could really help to get more into a flow state and loosen up. And I have tried that, but the problem I found with that is that it's hard to do something consistently that you can build upon and improve upon. And I feel like I can really do that with this channel, to be consistent and build on something. And I really appreciate that as well. The best would be to be able to combine the two, but yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But yeah, I really value the consistency and all that. So for now, I guess I will need to focus on that it doesn't need to be perfect as long as the overall vibe is good, and perhaps that could help to be more relaxed and not get pain in my body, because at the end of the day, I guess the idea is to kind of transmit a vibe rather than do something perfect, because AI could already do that anyway, so but it's harder for AI to kind of convey a vibe, so I guess that is what I should focus on. And the final kind of feedback that I got was that this song is meant for improvisation, so why am I copying the exact studio version? And that is a really fair comment. I think definitely this is an improvisation song, But the problem with improvisation, at least for me, is that if I would just start to improvise immediately without learning the studio version first, I feel like the improvisation would be just repetition of old patterns, old things that are ingrained in my playing, and then you can kind of start to question: is that even really improvisation, or is it just repetition of random licks and all that, and random old ideas? And in order to solve that, I think it can be really helpful to learn the actual song and learn the kind of new techniques and new nuances in the playing, and just learn that new mindset and perspective that is conveyed in the song. And when you start to master that, then you have something new that you can start to improvise on, and then I think you really start to create actual improvisations that are actually new, because you have incorporated a new idea in your playing. What I learned from this comment and this idea is that I'd like to do new covers of this song, but doing improvisations. And the first thing I like to do here is to practice more, and to do that I like to study solo versions live versions of the song, and learn that. And perhaps I start by doing a specific cover of a live performance, or I learn bits from several live performances and combine it in a new cover, and perhaps I could make my own improvisations there as well. But that is how I will, incorporate that feedback into what I'm doing next. But yeah, those are the comments with feedback, and I really appreciate all of the comments and all of the engagement. So thank you very much for that.